Okay, so you're not going to believe this. I'm still not sure I do. The phone call that blew my entire world apart didn't start with a hello. It started with a gut-wrenching, animalistic sob. It was my sister, Ashley. I hadn't heard her cry like that since we were kids, and she fell off her bike. Heidi, she choked out, her voice cracking into a million pieces. Heidi, you were right. Oh my God, you were right all along. I sat up straight on my couch, my half-eaten bowl of cereal completely forgotten. Ash? What's wrong? What happened? Are you okay? She couldn't form words, just these awful, ragged breaths. She was using FaceTime, but the camera was shaking so violently all I could see were blurry flashes of her bedroom's ceiling. Then, the phone must have slipped from her hand. It clattered onto her dresser, and the camera angle settled, pointing directly at the large mirror on her closet door. And that's when I saw it. The reflection. It wasn't my sister's face. At first, all I could register were two figures in the background, scrambling. One was my sister's husband, Mark. He was frantically trying to zip up his pants. The other was a woman with a familiar, perfectly coiffed cloud of silver hair. A woman who was hastily pulling down her skirt. It was our mother. My brain just stopped. It was like a computer trying to process a file that was too corrupted to open. I saw my brother-in-law and my own mom, disheveled, guilty, and panicked, reflected in a mirror while my sister sobbed her heart out just off screen. And in that single, horrifying moment, 8 years of being the family pariah, the villain, the home-wrecking monster they'd all painted me to be, suddenly made a sick, twisted kind of sense. But let me back up. Because to understand how we got to that nuclear bomb of a moment, you have to understand my family. Growing up, there were two daughters, Ashley, the princess, and me, the jester. Ashley was the golden child. She got straight A's, was captain of the cheerleading squad, and never had a hair out of place. She was my parents' pride and joy, the living embodiment of everything they wanted in a daughter. My mom, especially, doted on her. She was Ashley's mom before she was anything else. I was different. I wasn't a bad kid, not really. I just wasn't Ashley. I had a sarcastic sense of humor my mom called disrespectful. I liked loud music and weird art. I got B's and C's because I found school boring. In their eyes, I was the project, the one who needed fixing. Ashley was the finished masterpiece. This dynamic went into overdrive when Ashley started dating Mark in college. Mark was, on the surface, the perfect guy. He was handsome, came from a good family, was pre-med, the whole 9 yards. My parents, and I mean especially my mom, fell over themselves to welcome him into the family. It was almost weird. My dad was happy for Ashley, but my mom acted like she'd won the lottery herself. She'd laugh way too loud at his dumbest jokes. She'd touch his arm when she talked to him, letting her hand linger just a little too long. She'd bake his favorite cookies, something she'd never even done for my dad. At the time, I just chalked it up to her being ridiculously thrilled that her perfect daughter had found the perfect man. I thought it was cringy, but harmless. Oh, what a sweet, naive idiot I was. The inciting incident, the moment my life went from mildly dysfunctional to a full-blown nightmare, happened about a year after Ashley and Mark got married. They'd bought a new house, and I, being the perpetually single sister with a flexible schedule, offered to help them move some boxes and set up their new smart TV. It was a Saturday afternoon. Ashley had to run out to grab some paint samples, leaving me and Mark alone. We were in the living room, on our hands and knees, trying to untangle a mess of cables behind the entertainment center. Mark was telling me about some stupid argument he and Ashley had about what color to paint the guest room. She wants beige, he said, sighing dramatically. Beige, Heidi. My soul is dying a beige death. I snorted. Welcome to marriage, buddy. My advice? Just agree with everything and then complain to me later. It's what I'm here for. He laughed, a genuine, loud laugh. And in that moment, he kind of leaned in, still laughing, and playfully bumped his shoulder against mine. It was nothing. It was the kind of casual, friendly gesture you'd make with a sibling. But, of course, that's the exact moment the front door opened. Ashley stood there, paint samples in hand, her face slowly morphing from a smile to a thundercloud. She didn't see two siblings-in-law setting up a TV. She saw her husband and her problematic sister huddled close together, laughing intimately on the floor of her new home. She didn't say a word. She just dropped the paint samples, turned around, and walked out, slamming the door behind her. Mark scrambled up. Oh, crap. She totally took that the wrong way. No kidding, I said, my stomach twisting. Go talk to her. Explain what happened. He did. But he must have done a terrible job. Or maybe it didn't matter what he said, because Ashley didn't run to him for clarification. She ran straight to Mommy. An hour later, I was summoned to my parents' house for an intervention. I walked in, and it was like facing a firing squad. Ashley was on the couch, sobbing into my mother's shoulder. My mom was stroking her hair, glaring at me like I was something she'd scraped off her shoe. My dad just sat in his armchair, looking deeply uncomfortable and avoiding my eyes. What is going on? I asked, my voice shaky. My mother stood up. I think you know what's going on, Heidi. We are disgusted. Absolutely disgusted. Disgusted by what? I was helping them with their TV. Oh, is that what you call it? My mom sneered. Throwing yourself at your sister's husband? We always knew you were jealous of her, but this is a new low, even for you. The air left my lungs. I looked from my mom's furious face to Ashley's tear-streaked one, then to my dad, who was now staring intently at his own shoelaces. I looked for Mark, but he was nowhere to be seen. The coward hadn't even shown up. Are you being serious right now? I stammered. You think I was seducing Mark? We were plugging in a goddamn PlayStation. I saw how you looked at him. Ashley wailed from the couch. You were laughing, all cozy on the floor. You've always wanted what I have. This was insane. It was a delusion. A complete fabrication spun from Ashley's insecurity and my mother's bizarre narrative of me being the bad sister. I denied it. I begged them to be rational. I asked them to call Mark and have him explain. He already did, my mom said, her voice dripping with venom. He told us how you were being overly friendly and making him uncomfortable. He's a good man, Heidi. He didn't want to cause a scene. My blood ran cold. That spineless weasel. He had thrown me directly under the bus to save his own skin. In that moment, I knew I was doomed. They had their story, and no amount of truth was going to change it. I was the villain. It was decided. That was the day my family broke. The years that followed were a special kind of hell. Family gatherings became minefields of passive aggression and open hostility. My mom would watch my every move, and if I even stood in the same room as Mark, she'd march over and physically steer him away, whispering loudly to Ashley, "See? She has no shame." I tried to talk to Ashley alone. I cornered her at a family barbecue once, begging her to see reason. Ash, he's your husband. I'm your sister. Nothing happened. You have to know that. She just shook her head, her eyes cold. Mom was right about you. You're toxic. You just want to ruin my happiness. The final straw came at Christmas, about 2 years after the initial accusation. I decided to make one last effort, to show up and be cheerful, to pretend everything was okay for the sake of a peaceful holiday. It was a mistake. During dinner, Mark, who was probably a few drinks in, leaned over to me while I was getting some mashed potatoes and mumbled, "Hey, I'm really sorry about all this." It got so blown out of proportion. It was the closest I'd ever gotten to an apology. But before I could even respond, my mother's voice cut through the air like a siren. "Mark, get away from her." The entire table went silent. Everyone, aunts, uncles, cousins, stared. My mom stood up, pointing a trembling finger at me. "I will not have this harlot trying to tempt my son-in-law under my own roof at Christmas," she shrieked. "Get out, Heidi. Get out of my house." I was frozen. The humiliation was so absolute, so public, it was paralyzing. Tears welled in my eyes as I looked around the table. No one met my gaze. Not my dad. Not my aunts. Not Ashley, who was just staring down at her plate, a small, satisfied smile on her face. I dropped my plate on the table, the clatter echoing in the silent room. I turned, walked out the front door without a word, and never went back. I went no contact. I blocked their numbers, ignored their emails that painted me as a dramatic, guilty child running away from her problems. I moved 2 states away, built a new life, found new friends who became my real family. The silence was painful at first, but eventually, it became peaceful. For 6 years, I heard almost nothing. An occasional update from a well-meaning cousin, that was it. I heard Ashley and Mark were having problems. I heard he was working late a lot. I heard she seemed unhappy. I felt a flicker of something, not joy, just a grim sense of inevitability, but I pushed it down. It wasn't my life anymore. And then came the FaceTime call. After my phone clattered onto her dresser, and I saw that horrifying reflection in the mirror, it took me a full minute to find my voice. "Ashley," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "Who is that with Mark?" I knew who it was. But I needed her to say it. I needed to hear the words. Her sobbing quieted for a second. She picked up the phone, her face finally coming into view. It was a wreck. Her eyes were swollen, her makeup was smeared, and her expression was one of utter, soul-shattering devastation. She turned the camera around. The scene was even worse head-on. My mom was now backed into a corner, clutching her blouse, her face pale with shock. Mark was just standing there, hands half raised, like he was trying to surrender. "I came home early," Ashley whispered into the phone, her voice hollow. "My trip got canceled. I was going to surprise him. And I heard noises in the bedroom. I thought. I don't know what I thought. But it wasn't this." Her voice cracked. "Heidi, it's Mom. He was with Mom. Our mom." And then the floodgates opened. The screaming started. It was pure chaos, a symphony of betrayal playing out live on my phone screen. "How could you?" Ashley shrieked, her voice raw. "With my husband. In my bed?" My mother, a cornered narcissist, did what narcissists do. She attacked. "It's not what it looks like. We were just talking. He's been so unhappy, Ashley, because of you. I was just comforting him." Comforting him? He was zipping his pants. The sheer audacity of the lie was breathtaking. Mark, the spineless worm, tried his own pathetic defense. "It just happened. We didn't mean for it to. You've been so distant lately." But Ashley wasn't listening to them anymore. She was looking at them, really looking at them, and I could see the last 8 years of her life replaying behind her eyes. I could see the moment the pieces clicked into place. She lowered her voice, but it was filled with a terrifying, cold fury. "All this time," she said, her words hitting them like stones. "All this time, you let me blame Heidi. You accused my sister of doing the very thing you were doing." She turned her venomous gaze on our mother. "You poisoned me against her. You ruined our family. For what? For him." That's when my mom crumbled. The fake bravado vanished, replaced by pathetic, sniveling tears. "I love him," she cried. "He understands me in a way none of you ever have." I almost threw up. I stayed on the line for another hour, a silent witness. I listened as Ashley kicked them both out of her house. I listened as she called our dad and told him, his heartbroken cry in the background being the most painful sound I'd ever heard. I listened as my sister, the golden child whose life had been perfect, fell completely apart. In the aftermath, the family didn't just crack, it vaporized. Ashley filed for divorce the next day. It was brutal. Mark, stripped of his perfect husband persona, was revealed to be a pathetic, cheating loser. He lost his house, his reputation, and a massive chunk of his future income. He's now living in some sad little apartment across town. Good riddance. My dad divorced my mom. He was a quiet, broken man for a long time. He told me he felt like his whole life had been a lie. He's doing better now, but the wound is still there. And my mother? She got the ultimate punishment for a narcissist. She was left with nothing and no one. The entire family, aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone, cut her off completely. She tried to play the victim, of course, but for the first time, nobody bought it. The evidence was too undeniable. She moved away, and I honestly have no idea where she is now, and I have zero interest in finding out. The hardest part has been rebuilding things with Ashley. She apologized over and over again. She cried, she begged for my forgiveness for the years I lost, for the pain they all put me through. I told her I forgive her. And I think I do. But it's not a light switch. The trust that was systematically destroyed over nearly a decade doesn't just reappear overnight. We're talking, though. We're going to therapy together. It's slow and it's awkward, but it's real. For the first time since we were little kids, our relationship is being built on truth, not on my mother's toxic lies. So yeah, that's how I got accused of trying to steal my sister's husband, only to find out it was my own mother playing the long game the entire time. My family is a crater, a smoking ruin of what it once was. But weirdly, I've never felt more at peace. The truth, as ugly and insane as it was, finally set me free. Anyway, it's been a wild ride, and honestly, this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to my family's drama. If you want to hear more, like the story about how my uncle tried to turn my grandma's funeral into a timeshare presentation, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Trust me, you won't want to miss it.